What's going on today, everybody? Hope you're having a fantastic day. I know I'm having a pretty decent day, actually. Now that we've got this motor out, I thought I'd go over some things that I wish I would have known prior to going into taking this Audi engine out. There's a couple different things, tips, tricks that I wish I would have been mentally prepared for, so I knew what to do when the situation arose. So I started making a video on removing it and quickly got frustrated with the process and looking things up and having to start and stop, and I forgot to do a couple steps. So I thought it would be better to get it out and actually talk about things that I wish I would have known, or things that will help the next person along on their engine removal. So the whole reason that we're actually removing this engine is A, we need to do a clutch in it, and B, it needs a water pump pretty bad. So those two are the things that need to happen. Now, while it's out, we're going to take care of a couple other things. We're going to do a timing belt, we're going to check timing, we're going to do a couple other things. I'm going to clean the engine up, which I actually just finished cleaning up a lot of it. So there's a couple things that we absolutely need to do, and there's probably a couple things to do while the engine's out. But with that, that's another video. For right now, I want to talk about the process of actually getting the engine out of the car and things I wish I would have known. So let's get to that. So the first thing is I wish I wouldn't have put it on the hill. So the house that I live in has a little bit of an incline on the driveway. That's okay. I've done it plenty of times where I've pulled engines out in this driveway. It has an incline, it's fine, it's not the end of the world. Well, with this one, it's all-wheel drive and you have to get to the drive shaft in the back. So once it's up, the front's up on jack stands, it's even more on an incline, and then you have to jack the rear up to get the drive shaft to turn over to get to one of the bolts. You can get to two, you can't get to the third one. So that's one thing I really wish I would have known, is I would have put the whole car up on jack stands and probably had it on a flat, level surface. Would have been way more ideal. That's number one. Now, number two is the wiring harness. I really wish I would have known about the wiring harness. So there is the harness goes actually up and into the body. Well, it doesn't disconnect like most cars usually do. Usually you can like disconnect it somewhere along here between the firewall and the engine, so it goes out with the engine. This one doesn't. You literally have to unplug everything. Here's, that's fuel. That's your injectors. And you've got body harnesses for days and things that you need to unplug. And with that, it's entangled in all the hoses. So all your vacuum hoses most likely come out too. Wish I would have known that, because that was very, very frustrating to deal with. Number three. So the AC compressor, the power steering, and the alternator are all semi-annoying to get out. The alternator has wires that run in the back of it that are very, very hard to get out. Once you get that out, you have to get the AC compressor out. Now, I want to keep the AC. I don't want to lose all the Freon, and it's illegal to put the Freon just out in the air and then recharge it yourself. You have to actually take it in and get it decommissioned. You have to pull the AC out and they will dispose of that how they need to. So with that, you have to put the AC over to the side. There's a lot more stuff that has to come out that really doesn't need to come out. That's another thing. The power steering pump was another one. There's 4 bolts holding it on, and you can't get any of those bolts out without taking the front of the idler pulley on the power steering off. So in order to get the 4 bolts off of the power steering, you need to take the front idler pulley off. To take that off, you need to take the belt off. To take the belt off, you got to take the tensioner off. To take the tensioner off, you got to take the fuel lines and get them out of the way. So it's just a cascading effect of everything's kind of in its own way. That's something I wasn't really prepared for, which you really need to have patience for. That is a huge thing you need when you're doing this. This is one of the tougher engines and transmissions to remove. Number 4, the motor mounts are stuck there. You literally cannot pull the engine up. You have to pull it forward. So that means you got to take the whole front clip off to be able to move the car forward, move the engine forward before you can get it out of the way. 5, the drive shaft. Kind of a pain to get into. You literally have to bear hug the engine and get one arm over the top and one arm going down through this rat's nest to try to get these bolts out. And like I said before, you have to turn it to get to that bottom bolt, because there's 3 of them. There's 1, 2, and 3. You can get to 2 of them pretty easily, and then you can't get to the other one. Or you can get to 1 and you can't get to 2. That is really, really hard to get to. And with that, there's 2 connectors that are on the back of the engine. I literally pulled the engine forward like a good foot to be able to get to those connectors and be able to route them up through the engine because they're tucked in behind some brackets. That was something that I was not prepared for, and that's why I wish I would have done it on a flat surface, because having to hold the engine back and try to get in there to get the clips off was a nightmare. I had to have someone help me, so have another person definitely helps. Number 6, the amount of tools you're going to need is excessive. On the Subaru, I can take that engine out with a handful of tools. I literally have all of these tools that I picked up that I've used on this car. And that is all to get all of this stuff off. Everything literally has to come off of the front of the car to be able to get that engine out. Number 7, specialty tools. Really would have been helpful to know that there's specialty tools. Now, I was trying to use Allen wrenches to get these 12-point bolts out. I'll show you in a second. To get these 12-point bolts out, and I managed to round a couple of them off before I finally quit. It takes a special tool, and you absolutely need that tool, and those are for the axles. Not very fun to deal with. So here's the bolt, and here is the tool that you absolutely need to remove these bolts. Now these are the axle bolts, and they absolutely need to have this 12-point star. This is O'Reilly's special power tool, torque, or I don't know what the O'Reilly's brand is. This is their brand, and it doesn't come with a socket on the end of it. You literally have to put a socket around this. That's less than ideal. I would try to order some online that have sockets like this. Be way cooler to do. If you round this bolt off, there's no way of really getting it out. It is a pain to get out if you round one off. We had vice grips on the outside of it to try to get it loose, and this inside. So again, I needed 2 people. We had this bit in here and vice grips pinching, literally pinching the bolt head onto the bit. That was not fun. On to number 8. So the other specialty tool that you absolutely have to have is a quality set of Torx angle hex key type style. But they have to be Torx. Everything on this car is Torx. There's nothing really, there's a couple bolts, but the majority of everything is a specialty or a Torx bit. I mean, I get it, Torx bits are a little bit better and they hold better, but as soon as you strip them out, that's it, they're done. So I can see where Audi's at with having the Torx bits, but also, come on. I ordered a set, but these are all Torx where they'll go into my actual drives. So you've got 1/4 inch, 3/8 and 1/2 inch drives that you can actually put these on. This just came in, and it will make putting it in way easier than using these on everything, because these are kind of cumbersome in some places. But that being said, I did manage to get everything out using these keys, these torque keys. That's gonna make it easier. I would order them if you're gonna do it. Number 9 is you're going to want a ton of extensions. There is so many uses for extensions in the first place, but this car uses pretty much every single one imaginable, especially if you don't have deep sockets. Probably gonna need deep sockets on this too because they were lifesavers. But extensions are a must on these cars. Number 10. Now, there's been a couple in the lower half, or lower part, that have been, yeah, you kind of can get away with things. Okay, this one you cannot, and that is a swivel. These will save your life, especially on the turbo. Those bolts back there are so hard to get to with a straight extension that it was just impossible without having a swivel. So definitely pick up some swivels because they will help you out a ton, and it helps to have a couple different sizes because you never know when you're gonna need them, and you can always put two of them together and make a really fancy swivel joint. Number 11, you're gonna want some lights. Now, a variety of lights is very, very preferable. Flashlights, I have a couple different light stands or lights that I can use that's kind of set up in places. Because if you're anything like me, I can't leave it setting for too long. It took me 2 days to pull this engine out, engine and transmission out. That was a lot of hours put into that engine to have it out, and that led to a lot of later nights. So it's not a very fast process by any means. Now, granted, I didn't know what I was getting into, and I lost my temper a little bit a couple times. So be wary that you're gonna want lights because you're probably gonna work on it a lot. Number 12 is going to be arguably the most important one, probably of all, and that is patience. You're gonna need a ton of patience because going into it with a clear head is going to be monumental when trying to take these out, because it is very frustrating when you're trying to do one simple thing and you literally have to do 4 hard things before you can do that one simple thing. That is frustrating for me. Number 13, if you plan on using any sort of power tools, you can forget about it. The wheels are about the only things you can really use power tools on. The rest of it, you're doing it all by hand. Sorry, just how it is. Well, there you go. There's a quick little list of things I wish I would have known going into doing this engine. Hopefully it helps you guys out. If you have any questions, please leave a comment below. I'd be more than happy to help you out. If you like what we're doing around here, don't forget to subscribe. If you like this, found it helpful, give it a big thumbs up. Thank you, everybody. Good luck on your engine removal. You're gonna need it. Take it easy, everyone. Peace.